It is Tuesday. It is hour number 3 on the Swain event, which means it is time to connect with our guy, Austin Price of VolQuest.com. His time is brought to you by Jennifer Morris with Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, her telephone number is 865-257-7897. AP, man, are you recovering from a long weekend of fireworks? Are you recovered?
Yeah. I saw people on my Facebook or HOA Facebook page last night complaining because, it was July 5th and people were still shooting off fireworks. And I was like, well, most people were off of work yesterday because that was a recognized day. So I'm not surprised people were shooting off fireworks still. I actually got a big kick out of people that got, offended at fireworks at 9 o'clock. It was really upsetting there.
Were you shooting fireworks off yesterday, Austin?
I was not. I just enjoy others' fireworks. So, no, I don't. After a couple of the mishaps and then what happened to Terry on the video, I stay away. I don't need to, lose any limbs or anything like that. I just, rather be safe and watch somebody else do it.
That's the best position to be in, man, is to have a neighbor that goes out the way to buy all the fireworks and do all that stuff. So you can enjoy them, but without, throwing down $300 just to see it go up in the air and explode in 30 minutes.
Not when you have a dog.
Yeah, well, I understand dogs don't like fireworks, but.
Austin, how did your dog handle the fireworks?
He handled it pretty well. And now, granted, we kept him, we kept him inside, so we weren't going to let him outside. It was funny. Fireworks were going off, so I told my wife, I'm going to take a drive. I'll be back in like 5 minutes. So I just kind of drove around for a few minutes, and when I was leaving my house, I see this girl walking, she's literally carrying her dog. It's July 4th at dusk. What about that thought that was a good time to take your dog for a walk?
You know what's about to happen.
So perturbed.
You know what's about to happen. No reason to be surprised, lady. July, Austin, we've seen other SEC schools kind of go on a 2-commitment, 3-commitment run in a span of a couple days. Carolina did it. Kentucky did it a couple months ago. But Tennessee last week, not only football but a basketball too. But Tennessee gets Messiah Reddick. You go out and you put a cluster together, and it looks like Tennessee is not done. But just kind of walk us through kind of Tennessee football coaches, staff room. Maybe folks that you've talked to up there. Just about their reaction on last week's run with the commitments.
I think they were pleased. I do think that, in recruiting in general, you're going to see a lot of kids commit in the next 6 weeks. I mean, you started to see it last week with, it wasn't just Tennessee getting a few, it was everybody. I mean, most of these kids are like, well, get through June and then kind of look it over and then do something. Well, you're starting to see that. They're starting to do things. And so I think Tennessee's, likely going to end up with, a few more in the boat between now and the middle of August. I said this last night on our Monday night chat, Jason. The most important recruit to me is Addison Nichols, the offensive lineman from Greater Atlanta Christian. His grandparents live here, same street as Rick Barnes. His parents went to school here. He's been up here so many times. He grew up going to Long's drugstore. He knows Miss Ruthie behind the counter over there who cooks. You have natural built-in ties. You've got to find a way to land a kid like that's a top 150 player nationally. And, to me, he, Cam Miller, and then Isaiah Horton, all three of which I think will be off the board by mid-August, are the keys to this class, because this class, because of all that went on and all that's still going on, was never going to be top 10. But Right now, it's in the mid-40s. If you can get those three, though, how much does it change the class? How much does the perception of the class change? And how much do they help with other players if Tennessee can take care of business and show progress on the field? I'm not saying win 9-10 games. I'm saying show improvement, show better quarterback play, be competitive, all those things. I think those three potentially could have a huge impact on the rest of the class, depending on what they do in the next 6 weeks.
Austin, do you have an update for us on junior college linebacker J.J. Peterson and where Tennessee stands for him?
Stop.
Where's he going, man? Why does it always feel like you guessing with J.J. Peterson? We don't have all the information. I mean,
who cares? Once he left, it was over.
You'd be surprised at how many people still care.
It's just weird, man. It's first of all, it's weird that he's going to a JUCO. I think any player that transfers from any school and goes to a JUCO in the age of no restrictions tied to your transfer, I think it's kind of weird if you ask me. But what do you say about that? Outside J.J. Peterson, just any player that's transferred but goes to a JUCO rather than going to a school.
I say that he's got to get work done in the classroom, so he's gonna go there and get his stuff straight. I mean, that's going to be the preferred. Anybody that's got any kind of baggage, that's going to be the way of how they do things. Have you heard anything on who's our friend from Chattanooga and went to Auburn?
Jay
Hardy.
Have you heard anything on him? Because I've long said either Jay Hardy is going to go and transfer to another Power 5 school, or Jay Hardy's going to go to junior college and end up back at Tennessee. So I've not heard anything. So I'm thinking Jay Hardy's probably going to end up at JUCO, which means I think the chances of him ending up back here go dramatically up. So we'll see what happens. But I think that's going to be a play of certain kids. I mean, I get what you're saying, but sometimes it's like I always tell kids, that are, can play college sports. It's like you can go to Carson Newman or Tusculum, or you could go junior college for 2 years, see if you improve your game and potentially end up somewhere bigger. And worst case scenario, if you're still that same player, they're likely at Carson Newman and Tusculum going to still want you in 2 years. So, I think that the JUCO route could end up being a way for kids to bounce back in a better position. Yeah, I can go to this lower level Power 5 now, or I can go JUCO for a year and potentially end up back at a bigger Power 5 where I get more exposure.
That's good advice, Uncle Austin. On a more serious note, SEC Media Days is 2 weeks from today. Josh Heupel will be in Hoover 2 weeks from today. Any insight onto maybe who Tennessee takes to SEC Media Days, or do you have an opinion? If not, who you would take?
Well, I don't think they're going to be able to take 3 anymore. I think they'll only be down to 2, at least for this year.
Probably good for Tennessee.
That's what I had been hearing. If I was Tennessee, I would venture to say they're going to take Alontae Taylor and Bayless Jones. I don't think they'll take Cade Mays. I don't think they want to. Listen, it's the same thing Georgia talks. I don't think you want to put them around the Georgia media because all that's just going to get drudged back up. There's no point. I guess there's a chance that Matthew Butler could go, but I still would lean on Alontae and Bayless if there's 2.
Yeah, I mean, Bayless has a dang good personality. I think he would be good. And then Alontae. I mean, come on now. He's been representing Tennessee there on the SEC Council for months and months and months now. So I think those 2 are good. Austin, a lot of folks when you saw the transfer of the 2 defensive linemen last year with Middleton and Emerson. I mean, these are guys that some felt like would be maybe starters, and I say some, meaning fans. What is the plan there now that you've lost 2 last week? Do you add another one during the month of July, or do you roll with what you have and just push forward?
I think they'll roll with what they have and push forward. I don't think you'll see them add anybody else. I mean, I think part of the notion is they've been preparing to be with, to not have those kids for a while. So I don't think this is any kind of shock to Tennessee's system at all.
Austin, coming up over the next month, 3 targets on Tennessee's radar have announced their days for when they will announce. Marquarius Squirrel White, a receiver from Alabama, is announcing on Thursday. I believe Demario Tolan is announcing that same day, the 4-star linebacker from the Orlando area. And then Branson Robinson, the 5-star running back, announced over the weekend that he will make his decision on July 22nd, the date of his late uncle's birthday. So just with those 3, Branson Robinson, Demario Tolan, and Squirrel White, what do you think Tennessee's chances are?
Oh, man, Marquarius White, I think Tennessee's in a good spot there. That's Tennessee versus Louisville, Tennessee last visit. I believe he has a really good feel for, what they want to do with him in this offense. I did ask him, why did I put the nickname Squirrel? He said, my great-grandmother was on the porch when I was a kid, and there was a squirrel out in the yard darting around everywhere, and then all of a sudden I was out in the yard darting around everywhere. He's like that squirrel. It just stuck. Tolan, that one does not feel like Tennessee. And then Branson Robinson, Tennessee's made up a ton of ground there. Call me skeptical. I just think that the kid's going to end up at Georgia. That's just kind of the feel I got. Tennessee, again, has done a really good job. He likes Jerry Mack a ton. I just think for a kid like Branson Robinson, it's hard to look at Tennessee right now and just latch on to that because he has no evidence on the field of what Tennessee can be or is doing under Josh Heupel. It's all kind of, here's what we hope to do, and here's opportunity to play here. At Georgia and Alabama, they've been factories for producing running backs that go to the NFL for several years now.
Yep, hard to recruit up against that. Both schools, Bama and Georgia, they've put guys in the league. You do got to wait your turn though, and maybe some players want to do that and are okay with doing that, and other players want to get on the field and play now.
Now, I will put the caveat on this is the fact that not always recruiting makes sense. I mean, I think most people, especially up in the Northeast, would have agreed that Ryan Brubaker was going to end up at Penn State where his dad played, but yet he's committed to South Carolina right now. So, if you're Tennessee, you got to continue to swing until July 22nd and see what happens. I mean, I know that's what Jerry Mack is continuing to do. Again, he did a really nice job of building a relationship there, and Branson Robinson got to campus and took an official visit, and Tennessee is again way in it more than I thought they would be 2 months ago. But it's just hard not to just think logically for the kid. But hey, with the NIL stuff, if he gets the right pitch from Tennessee or whoever, then who's to say that that's not a deciding factor in all this? Because if he looks up and says, at Tennessee, there's no sales tax, I can do a lot of different things, or no income tax, do a lot of different things that maybe I couldn't do at another school and make a little bit more money. Maybe that plays into the role. I mean, again, how kids think with the new NIL stuff is going to be different than what they've done before.
Austin Price, VolQuest.com. Looking at all the transfers and latest arrivals, the Joe Milton, the Trembleys, Jamal, Haddon is going to be coming in. Hendon Hooker that was here before Heupel was hired. What updates do you have on the new transfers and the guys just coming in?
Well, DJ Terry looks like a mountain. Really impressed by the look of that kid. I could be mistaken, but I'm almost positive that at some point during the season, Caleb Tremblay will be able to rent a car. And, of course, we all know you have to be 25 to rent a car. He was born in 96.
Grown man.
Let that resonate. Not having Middleton here, to me there was two kind of odd storylines that no one really thinks about that are only intriguing maybe to me. One was what I just said about Tremblay and the car rental thing. The other was the fact that had Middleton still been here, he originally committed to Derek Dooley when he was a freshman in high school. That was 4 coaches ago.
Goodness gracious.
But he's no longer here. As far as other guys, I'm interested to see what, some of these corners do. The Haddon kid who went to JUCO and then went to Auburn for the spring and then came here. What does Brandon Turnage look like? We had this question last night in the chat. Prunty, Turnage, or Roe Torrance. And I would have said, Turnage, even if Turnage was somewhere else and Prunty was here. Like, I just think, there are really good players at Alabama that get buried on the depth chart that just want to go play somewhere. Like, they go down there, they take their shot. They might play some special teams, but they're not playing like they want to play, and they want to play. So, you have those kids leave. So, Turnage kid has talent. I think even Georgia saw that in the spring, based off some people I talked to in Athens. And so, I'm interested to see what he and Kamal Haddon look like at corner, just because they're thin at that position. What's Jawan Mitchell do? What's he look like? Coming up, I continue to hear he is just strong as an ox. That's the one thing that I've continued to be told is the work that he's got done in the weight room has been really, really impressive. And then you've got Joe Milton, who is as impressive a looking kid. Ben can attest to this, having been over there for camp. I mean, there was another media member. I will not say his name because I don't want to feel like I'm talking about it. He's like, I'm just kind of not impressed with the size. Not impressed is not the right word. He goes, what did he say? He goes, I'm surprised Milton's not bigger. And I said, what do you mean?
6'5",
and he goes, well, I just thought he'd be bigger. And I said, okay, I want you to look over there at R.J. Perry. Now look at Joe Milton. Look at Big O. Now look at Joe Milton. And he goes, okay, you're right. I mean, you don't realize how big this guy is. He's big, but you don't truly realize how big he is until you start comparing him to offensive and defensive linemen. I mean, he's big, and I'm interested to see what he is able to do. Can mentally he grasp it? That's the biggest thing, because from all accounts, talking to so many people over there, his arm is uber impressive, and so can mentally he grasp the offense enough to go out there and win the job? Because he's got to win it. They're not just going to say, hey, you transferred, so you're the guy. I mean, nobody's doing that. But if he wins it, hey, that means he's done some stuff, coming up in fall camp.
Well, and what was funny about that comment was that that comment was made as Joe Milton was towering over Hendon Hooker. Even Hendon Hooker's, a good-sized dude, and Joe Milton makes him look small. So
yeah,
he definitely has the size. Austin, I've got 2 more for you. A quick one first. Walter Nolan seems kind of quiet since he had that mysterious tweet a couple of weeks ago. Anything on that front?
Nothing going on there. I think Walter Nolan is a lot like Branson Robinson. He's done a nice job of getting back in it after they were basically eliminated. But it just seems like that one is, going to be a tough road to land Walter Nolan.
Is he going to play high school football at Memphis?
No.
Knoxville?
Maybe.
Maybe. Still being worked out. My second question for you is how you would assess the job Tennessee has done recruiting to this point, given all the circumstances. And I'm going to make you give me a letter grade. And the reason I'm asking this is because there, as you have seen on the board, and I'm sure as you have seen on social media as well, seems to be a little bit of a freak out over the amount of 3 stars and not a lot of star power. And I don't think it's very indicative of maybe how well Tennessee actually is recruiting right now, given the circumstances, how late Josh Heupel was hired, the NCAA cloud hanging over the program. Just how would you assess how Heupel and Tennessee is recruiting right now?
Well, I mean, I get it. I mean, listen, I think they'd be the first to tell you they're not recruiting at the level they want to recruit at, based off the fact that they're bringing a butter knife to a gunfight. I mean, yeah, I don't think everybody understands that, and this isn't carrying water, as some of the people want to say, or putting lipstick on a pig or whatever you want to call it. I don't think everybody understands like how much damage not being able to say, okay, we got a 1-year bowl band that lost 7 scholarships, or we got a 1-year bowl band that lost 15 scholarships, or whatever. Because these other schools are telling these kids 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Like, if you go to that school, you won't be able to play for a bowl game. You know, like these kids don't know, these parents don't know, and Tennessee can't definitively say they're wrong. They can't say with conviction those schools are wrong, because Tennessee doesn't know yet. Do they think it's going to be that? No. Do I think it's going to be that? No, because I think ultimately the NCAA, because of the NIL stuff, doesn't have a lot of power right now, and they're not trying to ruffle any feathers. So if Tennessee comes in there and says, hey, we're going to self-impose a 1-year bowl ban that lost 12 scholarships over a 2-year period, then I think that the likelihood is the NCAA is going to say, okay, that's good. You fired everybody. You wiped out the whole program, and in turn really has hurt yourself doing all that. So I just think that's really what's just hurt this recruiting class more than anything. Throw in the fact that like some of these kids didn't have relationships with anybody on the staff because they were recruiting a different kind of player at UCF, or in Jerry Mack's case, he was at Rice or wherever else. So like they're really, when they got here, they were starting these relationships brand new, whereas a lot of these schools had relationships with players X, Y, and Z for multiple years. And so I just think, I don't think 22 is what you judge them on. I think 23 is. Can they pull? And now, don't get me wrong, they still have to pull a couple of guys. They can't just take, a bunch of flyers for the entire class. You've got to land the Addison Nichols, Cam Miller, the kids that you have either a good shot at landing, that have name value, star value, all that, or the kids that you have natural ties to, like Addison Nichols. Like, think about it. Like, Tennessee could not land Tate Ratledge. Tate Ratledge's grandmother was a diehard Lady Vol fan, came to games for years. His dad was a diehard Tennessee fan, peeled the sticker off his truck right in front of the Chattanooga media when his son picked Georgia. Like, remember when Cade went to Georgia? I mean, there's been several instances over the last 7-8 years of players that had deep Tennessee ties and ended up going elsewhere. Tennessee's got to find a way to land Addison Nichols, a couple of these other kids in state that, you are trending for. And if that happens, then I think everything calms down. So if I was asked to give a grade, I would go B-, based off the fact that, again, they're carrying a butter knife to a gunfight right now. And once they get the investigation stuff done and the penalties or whatever are levied, at that point, then it becomes on this staff. Right now, it's not a fair fight, and it is what it is. But until then, Tennessee's got to find a way to get to September, score some points, show some progress. If you're Tennessee, you're hoping no matter who your quarterback is, the quarterback play is much better than what it's been, and I think then everything kind of calms down. But for right now, Tennessee's got to find a way to land those three that I talked about throughout this whole interview in the next 6 weeks. You do that, and things, I think, calm down and dramatically change the look of the class.
Austin Price, VolQuest.com. I know we run up against it, Austin, but I do want to kind of get your take on this. On several occasions I've mentioned Pruitt's approach. He came in being able to recruit to Florida State and Georgia and Alabama, and he was able to go out and flash that logo, and kids would come to their school. Well, he was the head coach at Tennessee, and he tried to go out and recruit that same caliber of player in year number one. In doing so, he allowed some of the other players that were not necessarily good enough to play at Alabama or Georgia, but they were good enough to play the other SEC programs and other top programs in Power 5, but he missed out on those. Do you think this staff learned from that, and that's kind of why they're taking guys a lot earlier, so they won't be put in a position where they're trying to, because at the end of the day, that to really beat Alabama and Georgia consistently, you're going to have to out-recruit them, but realistically, you're not going to be able to do that right now. So what's your take on this staff maybe learning from Pruitt's mistakes? Do you think they're doing that?
I don't, because when Jeremy got here, he got here in December, so he's trying to flip that one class. It was the first year of the early signing period. And so he had like 3 5-star DBs in town in January. Now it's a little different because Josh got here and the signing day had already basically come and gone. It was right there before it. So like it wasn't the same. So I don't know if you're learning those same mistakes, but I think they're trying to I think more just anything. I won't say learn from previous staff's mistakes. I think it's more just learn how to recruit at Tennessee, lean on a guy like Rodney Garner or Willie Martinez, who have been here and understand this place, because it's different. Recruiting at Tennessee is different than recruiting at Auburn or recruiting at Georgia or recruiting at LSU. It just is. And so, trying to find their own niche on recruiting Tennessee and then recruiting the state and then getting, that balance between in-state kids and out-of-state kids. The biggest thing I think for Tennessee right now is just have conviction about your evaluations.
Yep.
Because there were a couple kids in state that I think Tennessee was kind of, they dipped their toe in the pool or put their feet in the pool, but they didn't go all in the pool or all out of the pool. So like to me, like either you got to be all in or all out. Like you can't straddle the fence on in-state kids. And so I think there's a couple that I think if they had to do it all over again, they would have been all in or all out. Instead, they kind of straddled it, and that that hurt them. And then again, most of the in-state crop just didn't know these coaches because they were recruiting a different kind of kid at UCF or other schools. And so, when they got here, it was really late in the game. And most of these kids, they were feeling the pressure from these other schools to get in the boat and commit. Other programs are smart. They see blood in the water. They want to keep Tennessee down as much as they can. So they're going to put pressure on the in-state kids to, hey, look, you've had your time. I need you to commit. I need you in. And what are these kids going to do? Like take a chance on Tennessee, which has, struggled mightily over the last 10, 12 years, or, go and play at Georgia where you have much greater chance of success right now.
Get it? No, totally get it. Austin, what's going on in VolQuest this week? What work y'all got Ben doing?
Man, we are just riding Ben's coattails, baby. Ben's over there dominating, and we're just along for the ride.
That sounds good to me, man. Me too. I guess we're all witnesses then. So I guess Ben can be like LeBron. We're all witnesses. So we just ride Ben's coattails.
I hate y'all.
If Ben's like LeBron, then when he gets up from the table y'all are currently sitting at, he'll probably catch a splinter and miss the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Or act like he's been shot by a grenade or something like that, man. Been
Shot by a
hit with a grenade and shot by a missile or something, man. If he's LeBron, because man, he's golly, man. That acting is that's too much for me, man. That's the only thing I would say about LeBron. The flopping is way overboard. So, being holding it down this week, man, at VolQuest. So we'll be paying attention to VolQuest.com as Tennessee is looking to possibly get a commitment in the near future. This month's gonna be a big month for Tennessee, starting off last week on a good note. So for all your recruiting needs, hit up VolQuest.com. Austin Price on Twitter at Austin Price List. And as always, my friend, thank you for the time.
Appreciate it, guys.
Austin Price.